Good evening and welcome to the April 9th, 2024 Old Bridge Township Council meeting. Please rise for a pledge of allegiance and please remain standing for a moment of silence. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
As customary in this chamber, we stand for a moment of silence to remember those who are protecting our freedoms, both here and abroad, for our first responders, for those who made the ultimate sacrifice, for everyone that's suffering and in pain across the world. And now tonight, Mr. Paschetti would like to also add something.
Asking for everyone to keep in their thoughts and prayers the family of Charlie Breitweiser. He was a good friend. He was a past poll worker, and he got hit by a car on 516 and lost his life. And just ask for prayers for his family. Thank you.
Dr. Greenberg?
I would like to add, mention something about Charlie. Charlie was quite a special person. He overcame many adversities in his life. When he was a young boy, graduating from Sayreville High School, he was a football player there. He was in a car accident and almost died at that time. He was revived, and he was in a coma for 6 months, and he came out of that. But when he came out of it, he could not use his left arm and his left leg well, but through therapy and years of counseling, he got back on his feet. He was very inspirational. He actually brought to this town the program Hooked on Fishing instead of Hooked on Drugs for the kids. And he was
a nice program.
instrumental in that and very passionate about it. And also, you should look him up. He wrote a book of poems, inspirational thoughts, and it's quite moving. So it just shows what happens in your life, that you never know what's going to happen, but you can make a difference to a lot of people and be positive in spite of what can happen to you. So please keep him. Charlie, we're praying for you. May you rest in peace.
Okay, our prayer.
Dear Lord, bless thy servants in the ministry of public affairs who serve you in this chamber. Give us quiet minds and hearts that we may hear your voice. Help us to know when to speak, when to be silent. Give us strength to oppose the wrong and uphold the right. And grant that we have a good conscience, soul at peace with thee and one another. Amen.
Amen. Please be seated.
Roll call. Councilman Estatuli.
Present.
Councilperson DeCaro.
Here.
Councilperson De Palma.
Here.
Let the record reflect that Councilman Desai is absent. Councilperson Garcia.
Here.
Councilperson Murphy.
Here.
Councilperson Paschetti.
Present.
Council Vice President Dr. Greenberg Belli.
Here.
Council President Sohar.
Here.
This meeting is being held in conformance with the Open Public Meetings Act. Notice has been given to the official newspapers of the Township on January 6, 2024, and has been posted in public places. Next open public meeting of the Township Council will be held on Tuesday, April 30th, 2024, at 7:30 p.m.
Thank you very much, everyone. Welcome to the meeting. First, we good? All right, okay. So first order of business will be budget items, municipal budget presentation. Okay. Good evening, ladies. Welcome. And we also have our auditor here, Mr. Bob Allison. Good evening, Bob.
Okay. I just had to get the mic on.
Yeah.
Good evening, council members. I'm used to sitting up there. This is my first time sitting on this side of the dais. First, I'd like to begin by saying, council members, as we prepare to present our budget for this upcoming fiscal year, I wanted to take a moment to express my gratitude to each of you for your dedication and tireless efforts in serving our community. Our budget presentation serves as a reflection of our collective commitment to fiscal responsibility, aiming to address the diverse needs and aspirations of our constituents. Let us continue to work together with diligence, transparency, and integrity, mindful of our duty to serve the best interests of our constituents. I would also like to extend my sincere appreciation to our esteemed directors for their invaluable contributions and unwavering support throughout the budgetary process. Together, we can navigate the challenges ahead and seize the opportunities that lie before us, advancing the prosperity and well-being of our community. And I'd like to have a special thank you to Dawn and Vicki for their extra work. They work very, very hard. This is a year-long process.
Thank you, Mayor Walker. I would also like to take a moment to recognize and thank our CFO, Don, as well as our finance team, especially Vicky Carey, all of our directors and managers for their hard work and efforts in crafting this year's budget. Their strategic planning and thinking have laid the foundation for a successful year ahead, ensuring prudent allocation of resources and sustainable growth. Their expertise, foresight, and collaborative spirit have been instrumental in shaping our proposed budget, ensuring that it reflects our community's priorities and value. I am confident that our proposed budget will not only align with our goals, but also pave the way for sustainable growth and development. Thank you. All right. So I'll be kicking off our budget presentation for you all this evening, and we start with our municipal budget goals. Our goals are to maintain or improve core municipal services for the residents of Old Bridge. It is also to minimize tax impact and remain under statutory caps. We look to continue to implement a sound and long-term financial plan for the township, and one of our main goals is to identify potential areas for operational improvements and/or cost savings for 2025 and 2026. So we're always looking ahead. We look back to learn from the past, but we always make sure that we look ahead, especially in planning for this year. Under the municipal budget guidelines, under state law, a municipality must pass its annual budget in order to spend money and/or tax residents for that year. These guidelines include a strict municipal budget forms are prepared and submitted to the state oversight performed by Division of Local Government Services and the Department of Community Affairs. It then requires that our budget be approved by the state before we move forward. By law, the municipal tax levy must equal appropriations less non-tax revenues. Projected non-tax revenue cannot exceed last year's actual non-tax revenue. Actual expenditures cannot exceed the budgeted amount. Transfers within cap are only allowed in the last 2 months of the year. And finally, the fund balance or surplus cannot be added to the budget to increase spending after the budget has been adopted. As you all may be aware, our budget development process is a very long process. It's basically an eight-month process. This year's 2024 budget began in August of 2023. Memorandum and budget guidelines were sent to all the department heads. In September, department heads were required to submit budget requests to the finance department. Between the months of October and February 2024, we held many department budget meetings with administration and finance. In February of '24, our proposed municipal budget was finalized and transmitted to council at our February 27 council meeting. Our budget was also introduced at the February 27 council meeting. In March of 2024, we were notified of stated certification on March 6th. We then held our council budget subcommittee meetings, March 12th, 13th, and March 20th, bless you. We thank all of you for attending our subcommittee meetings. We had a great turnout, and your input was very valuable. And finally, this evening, we're holding our public hearing, our budget amendment, and hopefully our budget adoption. Thank you.
Thank you. One thing I want to mention on here, we have budget amendment. Similar to last year, when the state came out with the state aid certification, they gave us a slight increase of 0.5%, which they now require us to amend the budget for. So it's a state-required amendment. It doesn't require advertising, so we can just vote on it tonight and then move forward with the adoption of the budget. We got 0.7 last year, so this is like, it equates to about $31,000.
$31,000.
All right, 2024 municipal budget overview. The municipal budget represents 18% of the total tax rate and is the only portion of the tax bill that township officials can directly control. So our percentage of municipal taxes has been on a downward trend. In 2013, it represented 21% of the total tax rate, and for 23 and 24, it's been 18%. This 18% covers the majority of municipal services that are provided to the residents of the Township of Old Bridge, including public safety, public works, health and senior services, parks and facilities, recreation programs, code enforcement, and community development. The remaining portion of the tax bill funds the Old Bridge Public Schools, Old Bridge Public Library, Middlesex County Government, Middlesex County Open Space Program, and 4 fire districts: Cheesequake, Lawrence Harbor, Madison Park, and South Old Bridge. By statute, the township collects the taxes for all agencies, but the township has no control over the other agencies' budgets. So the school board and the county commissioners vote on and approve their budgets. The library is set by state statute, and all the fire district budgets are voted on by the residents of their respective districts. This slide is a graphical presentation of the total 2024 tax rate. The biggest slice is obviously the school tax at 57%. The municipal tax, which is the only tax the township controls, at 18%. And as I stated, the township must collect and distribute to all other agencies with 100% of their respective levy amount. So even if our collection rate is never 100%, it's high, it's always over 99%, but those people that don't pay, the township is the one that takes the hit on that, because we still pay every other district 100% of their levy. And the tax rates that are up here, except for the municipal tax and the library tax, all the other agencies are estimated. We don't receive the certified rates from the county until about the first week in July. 2024 municipal budget summary. The 2024 proposed municipal budget calls for $66,557,526 in expenditures. Revenues include $5,426,284 in miscellaneous revenue, $7,924 in state aid, $2,235,000 in uniform construction and code enforcement fees, $375,000 in municipal court fines and costs, $350,000 in interest on investments and deposits, $1 million in receipts from delinquent taxes, and $37,229,758 as the amount to be raised by taxation. An anticipation of $11,500,000 from fund balance will be required to bring the 2024 budget into balance. This will leave $3,752,511.46 in cash fund balance to help with potential emergencies for 2024 and help stabilize taxes for 2025. The proposed municipal tax rate is estimated to be 1.013 in 2024, which reflects a tax increase of 0.014 over 2023. For an average home in Old Bridge assessed at $156,542, the proposed municipal tax increase would be $22. 2024 library budget summary. The municipal library purposes expenditure category is included as an appropriation in the municipal budget. However, since 2011, the amount is deducted from the municipal tax levy in the calculation of the amount to be raised by taxation for municipal purposes. The 2024 minimum state required funding for the Old Bridge Public Library is $3,604,963, which reflects an increase of $240,000 $681 over 2023. The associated tax rate is estimated to be 0.098 in 2024, which reflects an increase of 0.005 in the tax rate over 2023. For an average home in Old Bridge assessed at $156,542, the municipal library tax increase would be $7. Under the statute, the minimum amount required by the state cannot be decreased by the municipality or the library board. We did ask the state a couple years ago if the library agreed. Can we reduce that? No. 2024 total budget summary, municipal and library. The total general appropriation for 2024, including municipal library purposes, is $70,162,489 compared to $68,943,626 in the 2023 budget as modified. This is a total budget increase of $1,218,863, or 1.77%. I think it's important to note, too, of that increase, the library accounts for about 20% of that total increase. The proposed tax rate for both municipal and municipal library purposes for 2024 is therefore estimated to be 1.111, which reflects a tax increase of 0.019 over 2023. For an average home in Old Bridge assessed at $156,542, the proposed municipal and municipal library tax increase would be $29. This slide shows a breakdown of expenditures between salary and wages, other expenses, and the library appropriation from 2019 to 2024. Other expenses is in blue, salary and wages in red, library appropriation is in green. Since we are a service industry, obviously our labor costs are our biggest expense. However, our salary costs are stable. In the last 3 years, we've seen major increases in salaries as we try and compete with private industry and Wall Street companies. The total budget has increased by an average of 3.67% over the last 5 years. 2024 expenditures. We're going to break down each category a little bit more. The salary and wages expenditure category has increased by $2,145,869, or 8.11%. In addition to contractual increases and minimum wage increases, the 2024 budget includes funding for 3 full-time positions in the police department, 2 full-time positions in the Department of Public Works, 1 new full-time position in Parks and Recreation, and 1 part-time position in the municipal court. So we've added 6 full-time and 1 part-time position to this budget. We feel we need to increase our staffing levels in order to meet our service demands and to better assist the public, especially in a town this size. The other operating expenses expenditure category has increased by $115,774, or 0.56%. Major increase under this expenditure category is our joint insurance fund insurance, which covers liability and workers' compensation. The municipal debt service expenditure category has increased by $178,950, or 3.39%. This increase is the result of the amortization of previously issued bonds and notes. The statutory expenditure category has increased by $148,937, or 2.39%. The major increase under this expenditure category is the police and firemen's retirement system. The increase is the result of a combination of the required contribution rate set by the state, contractual increases, and additional hiring in the police department. The deferred charges expenditure category has decreased by $249,360, or 96.21%. The major decrease under this expenditure category is emergency appropriation. If you remember in 2022, right after we adopted the budget, gasoline, diesel prices skyrocketed. So we had an emergency in 22, we had to raise in 23. Luckily, no emergencies in 23 that we have to fund now in 24. The capital improvement fund expenditure category increased by $20,000 or 2.63%. The proposed capital budget for 2024 is expected to be $7,005,000 for curbing, drainage, facilities and road improvements, parks and playground improvements, replacement of equipment and vehicles for various departments and divisions. Capital projects will be discussed further in our capital presentation. The acquisition and improvement of open space and parks expenditure category has not been changed for 2024. The proposed budget anticipates the same level of funding as last year, which was $500,000. The reserve for uncollected taxes expenditure category has decreased by $350,000 or 11.99%. This is a statutory non-spending appropriation. The actual tax collection rate for 2023 was 99.73%, which I have to say is the highest tax rate we've had without holding an accelerated tax sale. Well, very good last year. The projected tax collection rate for 2024 is 98.73%. We always project 1% lower than previous year just to protect against sudden drops in collection. Rating agencies and the GFOA recommend 3% below, but that would triple that number. So for budgeting purposes, we feel 1% is sufficient. All right. This is a pie chart breaking down the expenditures by category. The blue, the biggest slice, is salary and wages, 40.79%. We're a service agency. We're a service industry, I'm sorry. Important to note that employee salaries and benefits, which include Social Security, pension, and insurance, comprise 62.83% of the total expenditures in the 2024 budget. Our next biggest is operating expenses at 29.72%. And we always keep an eye on debt service, which is 7.78%. The rating agencies like to see that number under 10% of your total budget. This pie chart further breaks down expenditures by department. The largest slice is public safety, which is over 1/4 of the budget. So it shows this administration's and prior administration's investment in public safety. The next largest is insurance, which includes health and liability. 2024 revenues. Total municipal revenue, including the municipal library tax levy, has increased by $1,218,863, or 1.77%. The fund balance revenue category has been increased by $2 million, or 21.05%. The miscellaneous revenues category has been decreased by $1,760,651, or 24.50%. The major decrease under this revenue category was sale of assets. The state revenue category has been increased by $360,227, or 5.42%. The major increase under this revenue category was municipal relief fund. So as I stated before, the energy tax receipt portion, they only gave us a 0.5% increase, which equates to $31,377. Yeah, the municipal relief fund, they gave it the first time in 2022. They certified our state aid amount in March. Then when the state adopted their budget in July, they gave us this municipal relief fund. They said, reserve, if you already adopted your budget, reserve it for next year. They gave us about $326,000, which we put in 23's budget. The state itself told us this is a one-time thing. Don't expect it next year. They did the same thing the following year, but doubled that amount. So, and said again in a webinar that it could be a one-time thing, don't count on it, but for right now, that's what the increase is attributable to. The uniform construction and code fees revenue category has been increased by $385,000 or 20.81%. The municipal court fines and costs revenue category has not been changed for 2024. The proposed budget anticipates the same level of funding as last year, which was $375,000. The interest on investments and deposits revenue category has been increased by $150,000 or 75%. The receipts from delinquent taxes revenue category has not been changed for 2024. The proposed budget anticipates the same level of funding as last year. The anticipated amount is within the limit of the statutory formula. The amount to be raised by taxation revenue category has been increased by $1,030,693 or 2.85%. Even though there is an increase in the amount to be raised by taxation or the tax levy of 2.85%, the tax rate increase is only 1.40 due to the increase in assessed valuation throughout the township. This pie chart further breaks down the revenue. The largest piece is obviously the amount to be raised by taxation at 53.06%. And the second largest is fund balance at 16.39%. We're going to drill down a little further into revenues by looking back at the last 5 years for each revenue category. Municipal state aid, which we just spoke about. The increase is mainly attributable to that municipal relief fund or one time. Over the past 2 years, otherwise, we've had a $60,000 increase, or about 0.1%. Surplus anticipated from fund balance. In 2019, we anticipated $7 million. In 2020, we used the same amount as 2019. In 2021, due to the impact of the pandemic, we decreased by $850,000 to $6,150,000. This allowed us to maintain our cash fund balance for emergencies. In 2022, due to most revenues being restored to pre-pandemic levels, we were able to anticipate $9,500,000 and still maintain our cash fund balance. In 2023, we anticipated the same amount as 2022, while increasing our cash fund balance for emergencies. In 2024, we anticipated $11,500,000, while still maintaining a good cash fund balance. The next slide will show in more detail the relationship between fund balance and surplus. This slide shows fund balance and surplus in the budget from 2019 to 2024. The blue column represents the fund balance as of January 1st of each year. The red represents the surplus amount that's in the budget from fund balance. Purple represents the remaining cash balance throughout the year, and green represents the fund balance as of December 31st for each year, which then carries over to the following year. Due to the pandemic, our cash fund balance in 2021 dropped to the 2018 levels. However, it rebounded in 2022 as most revenues were restored to their pre-pandemic amount. The rating agency pays specific attention to fund balance when reviewing the rating. And this is part of our long-term financial planning as it's reflected in our bond rating and is an important factor in our goal to get the highest possible bond rating for future borrowing needs. Did you want to chime in, Bob, on fund balance?
Fund balance?
Yeah.
Sure. You mentioned about the rating agencies. One thing the rating agencies like to see is to have healthy enough fund balance as compared to your budget. So your budget's about $70 million, and your end-of-year fund balance was $15 million. So that's about a 21%, as I calculate, and that's a real solid number. That's what the state that's what the rating agencies like to see. They don't like it to drop below 15. In the 20-25 range is very good, especially for a town your size. And that's one of, if there's a few different elements that rating agencies look at, aside from stable government and, a good mix of ratables, one thing they do look at is your surplus. Do you have the ability to take a hit in a year if you have to without having to really jack up taxes? And you do, and that's very good.
Thank you. Moving on to uniform construction and code fees. When anticipating the revenue, we look at historical trends as well as the projects approved by the planning and zoning boards and the redevelopment agencies. This is another revenue that obviously took a little hit during COVID, bounced back up. You see a little dip again in '23. That was due to an ordinance change where some of our code enforcement fees were no longer required. But then we were able to bring back up in 2024 the permitting fees. Municipal court fines and costs. Our court revenues have remained steady over the last 4 years since the pandemic. I believe now they're back to they do Zoom court, but they also do in-person court a couple times a month. Interest on investments and deposits. Our interest rates took a sharp decline in 2020 due to COVID, which is reflected in our revenue projections in 21 and 22. Midway through 22, the interest rates began to rise as reflected in 2023, and we were able to increase the amount anticipated in 24 due to the interest rates still remaining at a higher level. Miscellaneous revenues. This category includes several things, including interest and costs on taxes, tower rental fees, interlocal service agreements, fees and permits, pilots, cable franchise licenses, cable franchise fees, licenses, the hotel tax, which was new last year, is also in this category, as well as state and federal grants. And one of the reasons you see the large fluctuation in this category is the grants can vary greatly from year to year. Especially, we've been getting a lot lately since we've been using Millennium. A lot of bigger grants in the $500 to $1 million range. So if you have more one year, a little less the next year, sometimes it's just timing of when they come in. Receipts from delinquent taxes. As I stated before, the amount anticipated is within the limit of the statutory formula. Amount to be raised by taxation. The blue bar reflects the municipal tax, and the red bar reflects the library tax. Statutory caps. So there's two caps that the municipality has to stay within. The first one is the cost of living cap adjustment, or COLA. It's enacted by the state, requires each municipality to limit any increase in said budget up to 2.5% annually set by the state. So they could set it at 2.5. I've seen it as low as 0.5% is what the automatic increase is. Unless authorized by ordinance to increase it to 3.5% over the previous year's final appropriations. So on tonight's meeting, we have the COLA ordinance that we'll vote on before adoption of the budget. That's what this pertains to. And looking back, the average inflation rate in 2022 was 8%. And in 2023, 4.1%. And to think that inflation's 8%, but we have to stay within 2.5 or 3.5. It's a challenge sometimes. For Old Bridge Township, the proposed final budget appropriation for 2024 is $53,992, $53,992,591, which is $725,818.61 below the state mandated cap base of $54,718,409.61. Now, our second cap is the more well-known one, the property tax levy cap, which was enacted in 2010 by the state and requires each municipality to limit the local government unit's amount to be raised by taxation to no more than 2% over the prior year's levy. The state allows specific exceptions for health benefits, pensions, length of service awards program, or LOSAP, for volunteers, capital improvements, and debt service. For Old Bridge Township, the proposed municipal tax levy for 2024 is $37,229,758, which is $310,428 below the state mandated property tax levy cap of $37,540,186. Before I turn it back over to Anna, Bob, do you have anything else you wanted to add as far as the budget?
Sure, just a couple things. We did talk about the fund balance. The other thing that one other thing that the rating agencies like to see is a level debt service, and Dawn touched on that before, about trying to maintain the debt service to stay within a reasonable amount. And about the tax cap, the state also allows you to create a bank for about 4 years of taxation that you don't use, and I believe your bank is about 4 million, isn't it? Yeah. So the state actually would allow you, and we just went over how tight things are as far as what the state allows and doesn't allow, but because of your previous budgets being very responsible, you actually have an additional $4 million that you could tax right now if you wanted to, which is over 10% of what you're taxing today. And I can just tell you that I have a lot of clients who bump up against the tax levy cap and the appropriations cap, and they have nowhere to go. They have to start cutting people. You, on the other hand, have been responsible and actually have some cap banks in the future if you ever need it. And so that's actually another thing that a rating agency would also look at, to see that you're not always straining to stay within your budget, that you actually can do it comfortably. So I think that's that's kudos to you guys for that.
All right, now I'm going to turn it back over to Anna to take a look into the future.
Thank you, Dawn. As I mentioned earlier, when we budget for the current year, we also look at what potentially could be coming ahead. This is, obviously, we can't not read the future and see what's going to happen, but when we're planning, we kind of look at things that have happened and see how we can better prepare for future events. Obviously, we always keep in mind the national, state, and local economic conditions. How are things faring across the county, across the state, across the country? So those things are potential challenges ahead. Weather-related emergencies and related costs, as you have all seen, we have been getting these rainstorms that have, I don't recall them as bad as they've been probably in the last couple of years. So these are all weather-related costs. I think, we used to worry about snowstorms. We may need to start worrying a little bit more about rainstorms and the cost that it's bringing onto the township. We have 9 unions, I believe, and all of them will be up for contract negotiations later this year. So obviously, as we go into 25 and 26, we're keeping that in mind because we may have contractual cost increases. Also, a positive thing, we've had a lot of employees who have been with the township for a long, long time, and as they get ready for retirement, we will be having to pay them out their accumulated time. So we also keep that in mind when budgeting. order to implement a municipal-wide revaluation and related costs. Mayor and I, as well as Dawn, have met with Brian Enright, our tax assessor, to keep us posted on the revaluation, and obviously we will keep you all posted as well. So we already have been planning for what the potential cost of that will be. Tax appeal refunds are challenges that we keep in mind. New and unfunded state mandates. So top of my head, I could think of a few related specifically to police licensing, that some requirements that are going to be, that have come down, that are going to require training and certifications and licensing that are not going to be funded, so we will need to fund those things. So this is something we're keeping in mind for the future. And our recycling contract with Middlesex County will be up in March of 2025. So we are actively already working on looking what that's going to look like. Obviously, we don't know any numbers yet, but we are planning for what that could be for next year. Some of our potential opportunities, ongoing cost containment strategies, competitive contracting for services, co-op purchasing for goods and services. These are all things that we have done and will continue doing. New technology-related initiatives. And one of the things that Dawn mentioned was grants. Millennium Strategies has done a phenomenal job since they've come on with the township in telling us about grants, helping us apply for these grants, following up on grants, and even assisting with the reporting on these grants. So they've made us a really competitive person when getting those grants. We recently were awarded a grant from Senator Booker's office for police technology improvements. I believe it was $1.5 million. We recently applied for a $500,000 grant through Senator Booker's office for a renovation of our food bank. So these grants are big opportunities, and we'll keep working at getting them. And additional or enhanced shared services with Old Bridge Public Library, Old Bridge Public Schools, Middlesex County government, and other neighboring municipalities. We will continue to work in relationship with all of these entities to keep our costs down and our services up for all of our residents. Thank you.
All right, that concludes our presentation.
Okay, now I'll ask if we'll open it up first to the council, for questions, and then we'll go on to the public, okay? So do them in order, Kate.
We're going to go in order first.
Yeah, this just makes it more organized.
Councilman
No questions. I just want to say I don't know the gentleman's name, I'm sorry.
Mr. Allison.
Thank you so much for giving kudos. I'm a brand new councilman and a citizen, but just a phenomenal job on the budget. It's exciting to hear that as a citizen, staying within budget. We have a surplus, and thank you for pointing that out. And fantastic job. I mean that sincerely. Thank you.
I have no questions. I just want to say thank you guys for the work. It was really a very good presentation. You guys did a great job, and I know this was your sorry, you did a wonderful job. Thank you, and Dawn and Vicky, also great job. Thank you very much. No questions.
Thank you. Councilperson De Palma.
I think I expended all of my questions either in the budget hearings or behind the scenes, having those questions especially. So thank you guys very much.
It was shorter this time.
What?
It was shorter this time.
Yes, thank you. I appreciate it. I think when we look at all the stuff, all of the expenses that we're incurring, keeping it to the budget that we are, being able to have surplus, I think it's a great thing. Just the fact that we haven't had to have a run up against that $4 million cap that we have. So it's a wonderful thing. Keeping going with the prior administration has done, being physical. I say it physically, it's physical. I got it. It's just it's my Brooklyn, Staten Island accent coming out. Being able to be responsible with our township's money is great. And thank you, Mayor Walker, for your first budget, and Anna as well as Dawn. Thank you, guys. I know it's your first time around. Great work.
Councilperson Garcia.
I have no questions, thank you, but I want to thank you guys for doing a great job. Everybody involved, like Councilman Tully said, we have extra money. That's unheard of in most towns, so it's a good thing. So I thank you guys for the hard work you guys do. and you got 4 months before you start again.
No, they're starting
Oh,
tomorrow.
no,
Tomorrow.
Vicky's ready.
Vicky's ready
Vicky's ready to roll over to 25.
Okay.
Let's go.
She can't wait to get going again. So, yeah, thank you, guys. I appreciate it. We all appreciate it. Town. I'm sure the town appreciates it as well, so thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Councilperson Murphy.
Yes. I don't know if I should bring this up now, but I really don't care. I'm bringing it up now because I read this stuff in here. It's my pet peeve. I'm reading in here that of the Township of Old Bridge, including public safety, police protection, and emergency management, service parks and facilities, recreation, program code enforcement, and community development, engineering, they take care of all that. They don't mention if it's a private road, we don't. And I had to refresh my memory. 50 years ago, I met Rocky Donatelli, and we had a talk. And I had to call him to refresh my memory. Mary Brown had told him at that time, it's a township road, take care of it. After he left, him and the ex-executive director of the OBMUA, we took care of it too. We would cut the trees and they would grade it. And they're paying taxes.
Mr. Murphy,
What?
I'm sorry to interrupt you. And you can have your chance to speak at a later time on a topic. How is this impacting the budget? That was the question.
Because they're saying they take care of everything. They don't say anything about a private road we don't take care of. I mean, it's about time we took care of these people. They're like animals. I mean, that's what they treat them. Maybe we should send them over to Dr. Greenberg. I mean, that's what they get treated like. I don't care. It's horrible what they're doing. They're paying as much tax as you are, and they get nothing. They're paying water bills. They get nothing. It's horrible. I think it's time we stood up and acted the right way. Van Tynes Lane, I know it was a private road. They stick a firehouse, now it's public. I mean, come on.
Mr. Murphy?
I don't even know if it's public.
Mr. Murphy? No, wait. I would never talk like that, Mr. Murphy. Now, and if our BA would like to make a statement, okay, perhaps that will give a little guidance, okay?
Thank you. We have been aware that the residents from Joey Lane have been at the last few meetings. Our office has received emails. You all have received emails. Since the first time that they've come, not the last meeting, I believe the meeting before that, I've been putting together documents from the history of Joey Lane, our history with that lane, and et cetera. I have all those documents almost ready to be distributed to council to review so that an informed decision can be made. So we are not ignoring them. I'm, happy to see them here again because I wanted them to hear that. I've been hard at work for the last month now putting this together for all of you. So that's where we are.
Okay, but here's the problem. When I went in to talk to Nicole, she told me she offered them like $150,000 or $160,000 and she would make it a public road. Then I found from there you couldn't do that.
Mr. Murphy?
Since she got here, they haven't taken care of it. The engineer after Rocky took care of it. I just want to know why it stopped.
All right, Mr. Murphy, when you see this report that, the BA took a lot of time and a lot of effort, on researching and making sure that everything, we knew the full extent of the situation before anything was done. So I think that's to her credit that she did acknowledge the residents, acknowledge that they had an issue, and did her best to try to present a full picture for us. So that's where we're at with that right now. It's not it being ignored. It's just that there had to be time to take and look into everything, okay? Yeah, that this you are now, and, okay, any other budgetary questions do you have? No? Okay, all right, okay.
Councilperson Pasquini?
I don't have any questions. All my questions were answered. But I want to just congratulate you, Dawn, as the CFO, and Anna as the BA, and Debbie as the mayor. You guys did a really good job, and all the department heads do a really good job. Everybody's doing well. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Council Vice President, Dr. Greenberg Belli?
Yes. With the budget, I hope that the public understands how much time goes in to preparing this budget, how many meetings, how many hours, and the back and forth. But in spite of that, I want them to really pay attention to the pie chart. It is only 18% of the dollars that are collected, that goes to the municipal. And the most important thing is public safety, and we emphasize that with the police department. But in spite of that 18%, we have been able to be stable with our taxes and have a fund balance, in spite of the state not giving us state aid, increasing state aid, but enforcing mandates that are non-funded. If you take into consideration inflation, increase in wages, cost of health insurance now, cost of gas, utilities, I think you've all done an amazing job, and I think everyone should be proud of the work that has gone into this from every department head. And to get an audit, and as I said, everyone should realize when we have an audit, not only from our auditor, but when you have a bond agency review us and they give us a AA bond rating, that's pretty phenomenal. In spite of when we've had COVID, a lot of people make that excuse. So I always like to point that out. And it is unfortunate that the state doesn't follow the same mandates that they put on us. When you look at the state budget this year, a lot of people don't pay attention to that, but it is truly outrageous. The way they're affecting negatively our schools is horrendous. To even think that we have to be in dire straits, and that is what's going to happen. It's going to impact the residents through that. I think long overdue, the state has to reevaluate how they do taxation and for the board and funding for the Board of Ed. It is a boondoggle, and it has never been corrected. Everyone speaks about we're going to correct it, and they can't get it together and figure out. But it is detrimental to all of us. And so when you think of that budgeting, we always get yelled at because we collect the taxes, as they said, and that's an extra cost to our staff here. We're doing the sending out the bills, collecting the bills, and you've heard here tonight, if we are responsible for 100% for everything, for the library, for the firehouses, for the school, even if we don't get in that collection. So it's a very complicated situation. So in spite of that, I just have to say, good job and continue with that. It's a wonderful thing to see that we can have this and have the budget meetings and the understanding and all the questions. I think no one asked any questions because we went to the budget meetings and, you know, we've been doing budgets for a while and we understand that. So thank you very much.
Council President Sohar.
Yes, I'll just conclude this by saying thank you to all of you again as well. Mr. Allison included, thank you for coming and sharing your wisdom with us as well. And I just want the residents to know that they're in very good hands, that this administrative team really knows how to do a budget, run a budget, and make sure that they keep the resident in the forefront, which you have this evening. So I really appreciate all the time that you spend and all the ways that you try to find to save and improve things. So really, I just want the people of Old Bridge to know this is a great team and you are in very, very good hands. Thank you all. Now, I'll open it up to the public. If there's anyone in the public who wishes to be heard on the budget. Anyone? Okay.
Thank you. Good job on the continued bond rating. I want to remind the council, since you guys don't remember it, that the bond rating of a AA has been around since when Mayor Phillips, the Democrat, was a mayor. Yes, it's right here. You can go know, but it's right here. Fitch's, the bond rating agency. That said, I want to ask you, when are we going to start getting money from the developer, the $4 million a year, for all the warehouses? You guys have the contract signed 2.5 years ago, and it means that we have $10 million outstanding from the developer. So I'd like to see where that's in the budget and why we're not seeing that money.
Is there anyone else who would like to be heard?
Can I address some of that, Ms.?
Oh, sure.
Sure.
Yes, absolutely.
So just so the residents understand, just because you have a signed financial agreement doesn't mean you start getting paid dime one. Under municipal redevelopment law, the payments start when a redeveloper receives a TCO or CO. for the different projects. No TCOs have been issued. So while the financial agreements have been signed, they're not required to make the payments under the financial agreement. That being, I'm addressing it. That being said, they continue to pay property taxes, right? It's being taxed as it was. We've collected rollback taxes as well for some of the properties because they were previously being farmed. Those are some of the revenues that had been collected. But as far as redevelopment, those payments don't start under the agreements, and it won't be $4 million, as a resident said. I'm not sure where the number came from. Is they build up over time because there are various warehouses, and the projections are made, and there's a payment schedule. So over time, the payments will increase as more and more warehouses come online.
No, we're not going to do a back and forth tonight. No. We have to move on. We can't do a back and forth here. Yeah, no, I get that, but she can talk in the public portion then if she wants to. I mean, we can't keep going back. What is it, Nina?
You should have your microphone off when you say things like that. Okay. PTA. You said that they paid taxes on the land. Originally, by the way, it was supposed to be contracted to be taxable income, but you guys, after I think the election in 2021, rolled it into pilot money, which means it's not taxable, which means the money that we will be losing to schools would have been part of that. So the taxable income that you may be getting right now for the properties, right, is not going to be taxable later because you're getting pilot money. And that's something you're not putting into the conversation. I apologize.
That's okay. I can address that too. So actually, the same amount of taxes that are being taxed will continue to be taxed after the financial agreement's not actually a pilot. Financial agreement comes into effect. And I think what we have to understand is, but for the financial agreement, those sites do not get developed, and you lose the control process. So if they don't get developed, nobody receives any money because it's going to continue to be farmland. So you got to remember, the incentive for development is redevelopment. The redevelopment law in New Jersey has been around for a long, long time, and that's what spurs the development. But for the redevelopment, those properties would continue to be farmland assessed, and nobody would be receiving any funds.
There's no farmland.
So it's not fair or accurate to say that the school districts is losing money because there's a financial agreement in place. What you have to examine is, would the property be developed but for the redevelopment? And the answer is no, because obviously the developer utilized redevelopment as its incentive to develop the property. And so they continue to pay property taxes. That becomes a credit against the financial payments that are made under the financial agreement. The town continues to collect the same amount of money and remits the school districts their portion that they collect presently before the development occurs. So net, the school district doesn't lose any money. They continue to receive the same amount of money. And ultimately, the property doesn't get developed but for the redevelopment and financial agreement. And if that were to occur, if they didn't develop it, then the school districts or any other, they're not out any money because it doesn't get developed.
Mr. Rosell, but I want to ask you, you just said...
Roselli, but that's
Roselli,
okay.
I apologize. My eyes. I apologize. You think I'd know that by now, but sorry. You said they're getting taxes farmland, but it's not farmland anymore, and we all know that. I mean, listen, I had farmland assessment on my property, and when it wasn't farmland assessment...
So again...
20 years ago.
So again, the way it works under redevelopment is that the land, there's a portion of the land will be taxed. There's a land tax that continues through the duration of the redevelopment.
And it's going to still be farmland assessed.
No. It's because it's not farmland anymore. There's a land tax. That land tax continues, and that amount, that continues during the duration. So the point is actually they'll probably be receiving more because as farmland, there is no taxes. So what I'm saying is that the school will actually be getting more money because of the development. There's just a formula in which there's a credit given to the developer under the redevelopment law against the property taxes that they pay. That's reduced in the, that reduces the financial agreement, under the financial payment, but that payment stays.
Okay, would it
for
be
the duration.
possible next next meeting that the budget office would provide the township with this information and present it to us? That they would provide us the actual taxes that they're paying now as compared to the former farm taxes that they're paying, and how much that remittance will be, and the difference, and how much they'll be paying in the future going forward. Would that be fair for the town?
That's not a question for
I
the
know,
township
I know,
attorney.
I know. I see the clerk is writing this down. Council President, I think that the township and all the residents would really appreciate that. I mean, I'm sure a lot of people will say, you've seen it on Facebook, they all love the new ShopRite, that's great. I'm not, saying that we don't like, we like good development, but we want to see where the money is coming from and how much it is. Would that be fine? Could you present that, the office?
Exactly, I mean,
I'm sorry.
going back
What I'm
and forth.
requesting is a breakdown. Let's say, they don't have to break it down by space. Let's just say the whole piece. If it's one property owner, the whole place, however many acres it is, I don't care. What they're paying in taxes, if it's farm, if it's not farm, break it down. It's very simple. And what they will be paying going forward, and when will they start paying the other money, the difference? Because there is, of course, COs on some of the properties. There's no CO on the ShopRite?
Different property, and that's not a redevelopment.
That's a different area.
Okay. Across the street, where the property is on Jake Brown Road? That was farm too, right, on Jake Brown Road?
I don't know what you're talking about. All I'm saying is, when it comes to redevelopment, I explained the process. And the financial agreements are dictated by state law. Under state law, the payments commence when a TCO or CO is issued.
Okay, then I'll make it simpler.
My,
There's 4 million square feet of warehouse space being developed on properties, whether they're owned, whether they were woodlands, whether they were farmland, whether they were private property, I don't really care. Would it be possible for the township to provide us with the exact amount of money that they're paying in taxes now and what they will be paying in taxes in the future when they get the COs, the TOs, or whatever the acronym is, and how that is going to be broken down for our school budget, for our township, of course, the 18%, as Councilwoman Belli said, and then the 20% that also goes to county. Would that be possible? I mean, it doesn't have to be 2 weeks from now. I understand that it took a few weeks to get Jake Brown Road together, Joy Lane together, but it would be nice to have it done and present it to us.
Well, the thing is this, I don't know if there were other variables. I'm not that, it's not being an accountant and being in the finance realm. I don't know whether or not that is how things change, if it's not now, if it's
So-
later. You know what I mean? So I can't say to you,
I could do
yes.
the homework and give you the property tag lines, okay? And then maybe that'll make it easier.
Well, we could see, but as I said, as far as Joy Lane, I think she was great in 2 weeks.
Oh, no, I just
mean
said
it.
that. I just said that. I didn't
I mean,
believe me. I didn't say that.
just-
I'm happy about that. Believe me. You heard me. I
Well,
didn't say.
I just want to make sure because that was a lot of work
I-
on her part.
I think everybody here said, I know she did put a lot of work into it. I was pointing out that it's a lot of work. I know. I said, I don't want to take away from the Joy Lane stuff, is what I said. Maybe it was a little slip in some way, but no, absolutely.
Maybe you could put your thoughts together in an email, and then, there'd be time to look at it, disseminate it, and see if it's possible.
Okay, who should I send the email to? The clerk?
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah, to the clerk. All right, and then she can, go over it, and they can discuss it and see what we can do. All right? Okay. Yes, anyone else? Okay. Yeah, it's for the budget, right, Mayor? Yeah. Budget, okay.
Thank you. Hi, I'm a resident of Old Bridge, and I just want to thank everyone who had anything to do with this budget. I know the work must have been astronomical. Kudos to you, and I think I speak for many people, maybe not, but I hope that a budget is adopted. Thank you.
Is there anyone else in the public who wishes to be heard on this, on the budget? Okay, seeing no hands, I will close the public portion, and I will ask for, no, here we go.
The ordinance is next.
Right, yeah. Next is ordinance establishing the municipal budget appropriation limits and cap bank, NJSA 40A:4-45.14 for calendar year 2024.
So this is the public hearing on
Yep.
on this particular ordinance, Madam President.
Yeah, is there anyone in the public who wishes to be heard on the cap bank? Seeing no hands, I'll close the public portion, and I'll ask for council, motion. Okay, moved by Dr. Greenberg Belli, second by Mr. Murphy? Yes, okay, Mr. Murphy.
Roll call. Councilperson Asatuli?
Yes.
Councilperson DeCaro?
Yes.
Councilperson De Palma?
Yes.
Councilperson Garcia?
Yes.
Councilperson Murphy?
Yes, congratulations.
Councilperson Paskiddy?
Yes.
Council Vice President Dr. Greenberg Belli?
Yes.
Council President Sohar?
Yes.
8 yeses.
Okay, thank you all very much. Next will be resolution amending the calendar year 2024 budget. This is a state requirement. Do I have a motion?
Move it.
Second.
Mrs. Caro was the motion. Second was Dr. Green. Okay, Mr. De Palma.
Roll call. Councilperson Asatuli? Councilperson DeCaro?
Yes.
Councilperson De Palma?
Yes.
Councilperson Garcia?
Yes.
Councilperson Murphy?
Yes.
Councilperson Paskiddy?
Yes.
Council Vice President Dr. Greenberg Belli?
Yes.
Council President Sohar?
Yes.
8 yeses.
Okay. Now, the next capital one is the one that's you carried to April.
you have to go. We're going to do the motion to.
Okay, these are all, okay.
Yes.
Now, next will be resolution adopting the calendar year 2024 budget.
Can I have a motion?
Move it.
Okay, moved by, second by Mr. Asatuli.
Roll call. Councilperson Asatuli?
Yes.
Councilperson DeCaro?
Yes.
Councilperson De Palma?
Yes.
Councilperson Garcia?
Yes.
Councilperson Murphy?
Yes.
Councilperson Paskiddy?
Yes.
Council Vice President Dr. Greenberg Belli?
Yes.
And Council President Sohar?
Yes,
I just want to read the title to the budget out loud, too, so.
please, yes.
Resolution of the Township Council of the Township of Old Bridge adopting the calendar year 2024 budget in the amount of $70,162,489.
Good?
Now we're going to
Okay.
move to the bond ordinance. Oh, capital budget presentation first.
Right, okay, next will be our capital budget presentation. Thank you very much, Bob. Have a good evening.
Thanks, Bob.
Ready? Go right ahead.
Okay, moving on to our brief 2024 capital improvement program presentation. Capital Improvement Program General Overview. A capital improvement program is a multi-year plan and schedule for capital projects. The state requires a 6-year capital improvement plan to be provided in the budget, but realize that this is only a plan and it's always subject to change for future years. Municipal infrastructure needs constant attention and maintenance. Failure to maintain your infrastructure will put your community at risk for future years. By statute, capital projects have a prospective useful life of 5 years or more. Capital projects may include the acquisition and/or development of land, the acquisition of major equipment and personal property, the acquisition, construction, improvement, and/or renovations of buildings, roads, utilities, and other structures, improvements of public works, and any matter described in NJSA 40A:2-22, regardless of financing sources. The annual capital budget is prepared and adopted in conjunction with the annual operating budget. Administrative preparation of the annual capital budget includes a thorough review of each departmental project request in terms of need, justification, scheduling, cost, effect on operating budget, method of financing, and impact on municipal debt structure. The capital budget does not directly appropriate funds. The appropriation of funds is made part of the capital improvement section of the budget and/or by the adoption of a bond ordinance. So on tonight's agenda is 2 bond ordinances, one for general improvements, one for arena improvements, and also a capital ordinance for parking improvements. Upon completion of a project, any unexpended balances are canceled by council resolution, which is usually done at the end of year in December. Capital improvement planning and budgeting goals. Continue to develop a comprehensive 6-year capital program on an annual basis that supports township goals and objectives for equipment, facilities, infrastructure, and technology. So we don't just look at the current year's needs, but develop a plan over several years for replacements and upgrades. Obviously, this plan is fluid in future years, but constantly taking a look, and it gives us a good starting basis. It eliminates the need for considering projects on an emergency basis and helps schedule resources and equipment to ensure maximum utilization and efficiency. We continue to develop and implement a management system for prioritizing, tracking, and reporting on capital projects to ensure timely acquisition and/or completion. Administration and finance hold routine capital meetings, usually quarterly, to assess the status of projects and what may need to be canceled or funded in the future. We look to maximize utilization of grants to offset capital costs and related debt service. Anna had touched on some in the previous presentation, but the congressional funding, we received the police technology upgrades for 2023. That was $1.3 million. And we just filed an application for an addition to the food bank for about $500,000. American Rescue Plan, or ARP money, we've used for park improvements. Menino Park, which is completed or almost completed, and planning future improvements for Gike Park utilizing that money. Green Acres, we received a lot of money for Green Acres for Cottrell Farm. Also, Nicole gave a presentation a couple meetings back regarding applications. One was for Ticetown Road Park synthetic soccer field, and the other one, Gike Park Inclusive Playground. Annual DOT grants from the state. In this current budget, we have one for Princeton Road that's about $650,000. And Community Development Block Grant, or CDBG, we've used it in the past and currently for road reconstruction in eligible areas, equipment and facility upgrades, especially at the senior center and the food bank are always eligible, and ADA improvements to facilities within the complex and township buildings. We look to minimize the property tax impact of capital projects and related debt service through sound financial planning and balancing debt repayment schedules, which we'll discuss later in the presentation. We'll take a brief look back at the last 5 years of capital projects. This is 2019. One thing you will see throughout all the years, we always have annual curbing, drainage, and road improvements that make up about half of our capital each year. You also see vehicle and equipment replacement, because again, we don't want to wait till these items die and it's an emergency basis, so we try and anticipate and budget accordingly. In 2019, our total authorized was $6,085,000, and the current balance is $924,887.50. 2020 capital budget. Again, one thing you see in here is larger projects sometimes are done in phases, so you'll see them over a couple of years. One of them, Cottrell Park, Menino Park, those were large projects, $4 or $5 million, so they're done in phases over different years. In 2020, we authorized $6,185,000. And the current balance is $332,879.26. 2021 capital budget, a couple of things to highlight. We had campus security improvements, which were up on our second floor of our administrative side, the courtroom improvements, building department renovations, and this is when we started our Menino Park funding, utilizing the ARP money. In 2021, we authorized $6,650,000, and the current balance is $396,759.38. 2022 capital, a couple things to highlight. We did purchase a brine making system, which we haven't gotten much of a chance to use, because, knock on wood. We had several park improvements, pickleball court installation at Menino Park. Also, a playground on 5th Street. We converted the basketball court to a playground, as well as replacements at Central Park and Genoa Park that were completed last year. 2022 capital authorized was $10,675,000. Current balance is $2,313,092.14. In 2023, like I stated, we had the Menino Park improvements really got underway, and they are now complete. Also, NJDOT cost sharing, Throckmorton Lane phases 1 and 2 were awarded recently, and that construction is going to be getting underway. In 2023, we authorized $14,667,000. Our current balance, $9,876,738.68. Moving on, 2024 capital budget. For curbing improvements, we have our annual curb replacement program at various locations. Drainage improvements, annual drainage improvement program at various locations, as well as Stevens Avenue pipe replacement, Phase 5. Under equipment for our MIS department, disaster recovery site, document imaging and scanning, network upgrades and phone system replacement. For recreation, a Field Pro Sand Pro replacement. For the police department, ballistic vests and carriers, body-worn cameras, taser replacement and infocop server. For the Department of Public Works, air compressor and jackhammer, enclosed trailer, front wheel loader, lawn mowers, backhoe snow pusher, mason dump snow plow and salter, switch and go dump bodies, walkway salter, air compressor, and mobile columns. And for our construction department, upgraded equipment for electronic plan submittal, which is one of these state mandates that they're requiring, and it requires, I believe, about $35,000 to update our equipment for that. Facility improvements, campus generator project, that's one that's been done in phases. Electric locking bathroom doors at Gike, Menino, and Vets Park. Veterans Park roof replacement, door swipe access control system. DPW building lobby security upgrades. Electrical panel upgrade at the Civic Center. External door replacements throughout the complex. Fence installation at the recycling center. At the arena, roof replacement project, boiler replacement and lobby beautification, and at our commuter parking lot, striping at Westminster and Inverness lots. Under park improvements, Gike Park water main relocation, basketball resurfacing project at Genoa Park, Gike Park inclusive playground, which we've applied for Green Acres funding for, Menino Park Playground, Menino Park Water Main relocation, sports practice wall, Ticetown Road Soccer Complex turf project, which is also applied for Green Acres, Veterans Park Tennis Court, and a multi-use turf area. Under road improvements, annual road resurfacing program at various locations, NJDOT cost sharing for Waterworks Road and Perrine Road improvements, as well as County Road 516 pedestrian improvements. And under vehicles, a Mason dump truck and a street sweeper for the Public Works Department. For 2024, the total project cost is $6,895,000. Section 20 costs are $110,000, which includes bonding costs, preliminary engineering and architect fees, for a total of $7,005,000. Other funding of $50,000, which is the capital ordinance for the parking commuter lots. It requires a down payment of $348,700, which is provided in this budget and previous budgets through the Capital Improvement Fund appropriation, which leaves a net borrowing of $6,606,300. Finally, the capital funding process. It begins with the adoption of multi-use capital bond ordinance, which authorize project borrowings. So as I stated on tonight's agenda, there's the 2 bond ordinances as well as the capital ordinance for parking. Once the project starts, we issue short-term bond anticipation notes or bands. These notes are limited to 1-year expiration from the date of issue. The township does not immediately borrow funds. Once the project starts, Finance Department reviews all the authorized projects and determines the amount to borrow. So short-term band borrowing happens over multiple years as the projects within the ordinance progresses. We renew these bands for an additional 2 or 3 years to allow the projects to be completed and the final amount of borrowing to be determined. Some of these notes are paid down each year and new money's added as we go along. After a few years, we convert the multiple short-term bands and issue long-term bonds. Our annual amortization for township debt is approximately 7.78% of the total annual budget. As we stated, we try and keep this as flat as possible year to year to not cause any large fluctuations in our budget. And the rating agency, likes to see it under 10%, so we always keep it under there. The township's AA1 rating from Moody's Investor Services is the second highest rating Moody's assigns. The high rating has an impact on the borrowing rate and the finance costs. This high rating helps us, get a reduced borrowing rate, which then lower financing costs, and it goes to the taxpayers on the lower cost. Our method of amortization has been recognized by the rating agencies, as the next slide will show. So this is our current debt amortization. It includes township-issued bonds for general capital and arena utility funds. It also includes the Environmental Infrastructure Trust Loan, which was for the Cedar Ridge property acquisition. This is the final year of payments on that loan. It does not include the bands or the projects authorized, but debt was not issued. The current debt amortization is 12 years. This is important because all these capital projects provide long-term benefits, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years. So we want to pay them over the cost of the useful life. So even if we stopped all capital projects right now, you wouldn't see relief for a couple of years down the road. We have an informal policy not to borrow more than we retire, and we leave room for additional borrowing. So future bond issues will fill in those gaps. And we'll probably look to issue bonds either later this year or early 2025. Final slide, it's just a graphical presentation of our outstanding debt. Which, as you can see, it's going down, but as we issue more, it'll kind of fill in to keep it level. Finally, we ask that you adopt our bond and capital ordinance, bond ordinances tonight, so our department heads can keep moving forward with our capital improvements. Thank you.
Thank you for that presentation. It was very, very informative. Does anyone from the council, we'll start with Mrs. DeCaro and work down. Anyone? Okay.
Mr. Murphy, do you have anything on the bond or the capital budget?
Yes, I just want to say the three of you, Dawn, Debbie, and Anna, stepped right into your predecessor's boots without missing a note. Great job.
Thank you.
Councilman De Palma?
Oh, just great job.
Councilman Pasquini?
Thank you. I also think you did a great job. Dawn, on the 2023 capital budget, it has facility improvement. The current balance is $6,942,912. And I was wondering, since that was 2023, and that's kind of sitting, waiting for something to happen, right?
A bulk of that is the Lawrence Harbor Community Center.
Okay,
Yeah,
great,
It's about 5 million, 5.5 million.
great. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Councilman Garcia?
No questions, just thank you for your hard work as well. Thank you.
Councilman Asatuli?
When the gentleman left, like he said, when it's really tough times, and you can stay within that budget and have a surplus, and when the world is struggling, it's just phenomenal. When you have great people that do great things, really care about the community, sincerely, really good things happen. And I truly want to thank you. Thank you.
Council Vice President Dr. Greenberg Belli?
Yes, I want to thank you also, and it's good to see that when residents pay their taxes, it goes, a big percentage, it goes back into capital improvements, so they're seeing something for their tax dollars. Thank you.
And Council President Sohar?
Yes, I'd like to also thank all of you. It was a very, very good, presentation. And I think the long-range planning is showing here, because we're doing different areas, different roads, different improvements, and it makes sense. There's a rhyme and a rhythm to it, and that's a good thing. All the basketball courts, like, things are being done with a long-range plan in mind, and that's what I really appreciate. I think that's great. And the more we can do for the residents to reinvest in the infrastructure, I think the better we are. And obviously, we have been, so I hope we continue on with this. It was a great presentation. Thank you. Thank you. I'll open it to the public. Is there anyone in the public who wishes to be heard? Come forward for the capital budget.
Councilman Piscatty brought up a good point. Thank you. The $6 million or whatever it was in the budget that's going to the Lawrence Harbor Community Center, how much of that money came from Congressman Frank Pallone's federal budget that he brought into the community? His relationship with Councilman Desai was able to bring in how much money of that came from the federal government? From the Democrat?
1,250,000.
Wonderful. Thank you.
I would say that that money that comes from the federal government, we all pay federal taxes, so we should get some money back. Thank you.
Is there anyone else in the public? Please come forward. Thank you. Good evening.
To say good evening. I don't know if you would prefer me to move this to public comment or not, but I have it's sort of a capital improvement concern. So on Maple Street, there's always sort of been an issue with people walking toward where the Wawa and where the new, that new sushi place and the halal spot over there. And this was never, I always sort of driving by there knew to kind of keep an eye out for people. But recently I almost hit someone, dressed all in black. And I'm worried about it's this little stretch that goes between the Maple View Apartments and the Wawa, which the sidewalk ends there. And I really think it might very well be a matter of time until someone does get hit, because I think it's a pretty high trafficked area. Now, the problem is that's also a difficult spot to do construction in, because it's a tight sort of squeeze. But people also walk to the county park that's down the street from there too, and you see people walking there, and that raises the same kind of issue, because you have an attraction on one end and then the convenience store on the other side. But I just wanted to bring that to the council's attention going forward about,
Yeah. All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else in the public? Okay, seeing no hands, I will close the public portion. Here we go to the bond ordinance. Bond ordinance providing an appropriation of $6,680,000 for various improvements in and by the Township of Old Bridge in the County of Middlesex, New Jersey, and authorizing the issuance of $6,345,100 bonds or notes for the township for financing part of the appropriation.
Move it.
Second.
Okay, so you have
Dr. Greenberg-Belli,
a second.
second by Councilperson DeCarlo.
Yep.
Okay, are you opening to the, yeah, you're gonna open
Yeah,
to the public?
I'm going to
on
open
that
it up
also.
to the public. Now, does anyone want to be heard on this? No, I will close the public and go to roll call.
Roll call, Councilperson Asatuli.
Yes.
Councilperson DeCarlo.
Yes.
Councilperson De Palma.
Yes.
Councilperson Garcia.
Yes.
Councilperson Murphy.
Yes.
Councilperson Pasquitti.
Yes.
Council Vice President Dr. Greenberg-Belli.
Yes.
Council President Sohar.
Yes.
8 yeses.
Bond ordinance providing an appropriation of $275,000 for various arena utility improvements in and by the Township of Old Bridge in the County of Middlesex, New Jersey, and authorizing the issuance of $261,200 in bonds or notes of the township for financing part of the appropriation. I'll open it up to the public. Is there anyone in the public who wishes to be heard? Seeing no hands, I will close the public portion.
Can we have a motion, please?
Move it.
Second.
Motion by Dr. Greenberg-Belli, second by Councilman De Palma. Roll call, Councilperson Asatuli.
Yes.
Councilperson DeCarlo.
Yes.
Councilperson De Palma.
Yes.
Councilperson Garcia.
Yes.
Councilperson Murphy.
Yes.
Councilperson Pasquitti.
Yes.
Council Vice President Dr. Greenberg-Belli.
Yes.
Council President Sohar.
Yes.
8 yeses.
Now, the next one is capital ordinance providing funding for various improvements to the parking utility for the Township of Old Bridge and appropriating $50,000 for such purpose. This is going to be carried, correct?
Yes, we need a motion to carry to the April 30th meeting due to publication issues.
Move it.
Second.
Okay, moved by Mr. Murphy, second by Dr. Greenberg-Belli.
Roll call, Councilperson Asatuli.
Yes.
Councilperson DeCarlo.
Yes.
Councilperson De Palma.
Yes.
Councilperson Garcia.
Yes.
Councilperson Murphy.
Yes.
Councilperson Pasquitti.
Yes.
Council Vice President Dr. Greenberg-Belli.
Yes.
Council President Sohar.
Yes.
8 yeses.
So this will conclude our budget hearing. I'd like to thank everyone again for all the hard work and for the residents coming out and participating. Thank you very much. Okay, all right, yes, now we'll go on with appointments. These are for the Housing Authority. It's what do you call it, a term that will last until 5/20/29. Okay,
So from 6/1/2024 start date to 5/31/2029, there are 3 open seats, so we'll be taking nominations for 3 seats.
I nominate Tony Piscatty, Councilman Piscatty.
Anybody else?
anyone else have a nomination?
Nominate Denise Raviti.
Don't we have to do them one at a time?
We'll do 1 seat at a time.
Oh, one seat at a
So,
time.
yes.
Okay, never mind. I withdraw that.
Anybody else?
I
This is too
nominate
confusing.
Quackenbush.
Tracy Quackenbush?
We're doing one at a time.
Okay. And we are. I'm waiting to see if Councilperson DeCarlo has a
Anybody?
nomination. No,
Anybody have
okay.
a nominate other than those? Anybody?
Okay.
No? Okay. Want to
So-
make sure we recognize everybody.
Yes. On the motion, any more nominations? Hearing none?
We'll close them.
We're closing nominations, and we'll take a roll call vote on Councilman Pasquitti for the appointment to the Housing Authority. Councilman Asatuli?
Yes.
Councilperson DeCarlo?
Abstain.
Councilperson De Palma?
Abstain.
Councilperson Garcia?
Yes.
Councilperson Murphy?
Yes.
Councilperson Pasquitti?
Yes.
Council Vice President Dr. Greenberg-Belli?
Yes.
Council President Sohar?
Yes.
And it will be Councilperson Pasquitti for the Housing Authority seat. So for the second seat, same term, 6/1/2024 to 5/31/2029. Who's the nominations? We had Tracy Quackenbush. Okay. Any other nominations?
Yeah, we already closed the nominations.
I'm
So now
sorry.
we're just roll calling individually, okay?
Roll call. Councilperson Asatuli?
Yes.
Councilperson DeCaro?
Abstain.
Councilperson DePalma?
Yes.
Councilperson Garcia?
Yes.
Councilperson Murphy?
Yes.
Councilperson Pasquitti?
Yes.
Council Vice President Dr. Greenberg Belli?
Yes.
Council President Sohar?
Yes.
Okay, seat goes to Tracy Quackenbush. And for the third seat, we need a
Nominate Denise Raviti.
Denise?
Okay, so on the nomination for Denise Roviti, Councilperson Asatuli,
Yes.
Councilperson DeCaro,
Abstain.
Councilperson DePalma,
Yes.
Councilperson Garcia,
Yes.
Councilperson Murphy,
Yes.
Councilperson Pasquitti,
Yes.
Council Vice President Dr. Greenberg Belli,
Yes.
Council President Sohar.
Yes.
Denise Roviti for the seat.
Next. You good? Okay. All right, next will be approval of minutes. Do we have any?
Yep, we have minutes of November 13th, 2023, December 5th, 2023, December 12th, 2023, and January 16th, 2024.
Move it.
Second.
Okay, moved by Dr. Greenberg Belli, second by Mr. Murphy.
Roll call, Councilperson Asatuli.
Yes.
Councilperson DeCaro.
Yes.
Councilperson DePalma.
Yes.
Councilperson Garcia.
Yes.
Councilperson Murphy.
Yes.
Councilperson Pasquitti.
Yes.
Council Vice President Dr. Greenberg Belli.
Yes.
Council President Sohar.
Yes.
8 yeses.
Bill list, Mr. Garcia.
Yes, thank you. Bill list as of April 9, 2024. Accounts payable, April 9, 2024, $4,270,620.08. Payroll, March 28, 2024, $1,342,202.36. And payroll overtime, March 28, 2024, $20,763.34. And that completes my report. Thank you.
Tia, can I have a breakdown, please, of the overtime?
Sure, thank you. There were no major upticks in our overtime for that pay period. Our sworn police overtime was $7,281.82. Deduct grants, $841.90. Deduct ETO, $3,385.90, for a total of $3,054.02, and a total of 49.5 men and women hours. We have 3 officers on light duty currently. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Do I have a motion?
Move it.
Second.
Okay, moved by Mr. Murphy, second by Dr. Greenberg Belli.
Roll call, Councilperson Asatuli.
Yes.
Councilperson DeCaro.
Yes.
Councilperson DePalma.
Yes.
Councilperson Garcia.
Yes.
Councilperson Murphy.
Yes.
Councilperson Pasquitti.
Yes.
Council Vice President Dr. Greenberg Belli.
Yes.
Council President Sohar.
Yes.
8 yeses.
Okay. Discussion ordinance amending Chapter 432 of the Township Code entitled Stormwater Quality by adding a new Article 10 entitled Salt Storage Privately Owned. Good evening, ladies.
Good evening. Council, tonight I'm in front of you because every year in front of NJDEP, they require us to renew an MS4 permit. So MS4 means municipal, I get this wrong every time, municipal separate stormwater sewer system. Because we have a stormwater system that discharges into the waterways in New Jersey, they want to make sure that that water that we discharge is clean. So every year we submit a permit to them and we have to give them some information on the criteria that is required as far as that permit renewal. One of the criteria that they require from us this year is that we pass an ordinance for storage of salt, but for privately owned places. So not for the municipalities, but for privately owned places. And that's to ensure that there's no de-icing materials that enter our waterways or any salts or chemicals that enter our waterways that they're not aware of. So I passed along the ordinance to our attorney, and he had reviewed it, made some minor changes, and that's what is in Granicus or Peak for your review for tonight's. I asked that we could possibly move it up to first reading tonight because our deadline is May 1st for the permit renewal and for all that information to be submitted. So certainly it doesn't have to be, it needs to be introduced tonight, and then second reading at the next meeting, and then ultimately they see that we're working towards getting that ordinance in place.
Thank you very much. Does any council member have a question? Mr. DePalma? Oh.
Are you, that's right, I didn't see any
ladies
hands over
first.
there. Do you know, like, if you're a private company and you have salt storage, do you have to get a permit from the town to have salt storage? How do you know how many people have salt storage in town?
Well, I actually don't, because I was thinking about that. I don't know how many people do. But for example, if you're running a landscaping business and in the winter you start plowing and then you start storing salts on your property because you want to do that in the winter, that's where Ms. Savant gets involved, right? Our township planner or our code enforcement. The neighbors say, hey, a lot of truck activity going on and there's a lot of material that they're trucking back and forth and they're working at 6 a.m. Well, for you to be able to do that use on that property, you have to come in front of our planning or zoning board and you have to get those types of approval. You can't just run any kind of business like that from your private property without really our planning and zoning boards knowing about it or our code enforcement office knowing about it. So that's sort of, our checks and balances on that type of operation.
The question is, do you know
Oh, I don't.
We don't know how many.
I would have no idea.
Wondering how many exist or,
I don't know, because it could go as small as a salt storage for, like, let's say that landscaping business, and it could be small. Like, you can't just put it under a tarp is what they're saying. You have to really store it in an enclosed facility so that it's not running off into the waterways or the grass or infiltrating.
So just if I can give some more backstory. Previously, up until this year, towns were broken up into two tiers. There was Tier A and Tier B. Tier B towns were more rural towns, and while they had a permit requirement, it wasn't as stringent as Tier A. Tier A being more developed. The town actually has a whole section, Chapter 432. That's geared toward all the requirements for this MS4 permit. And just, again, this is one of those unfunded mandates that the state imposed on municipalities. Smaller towns, especially this year, making it difficult because one of the requirements you saw a street sweeper. We have to do, as part of our permit compliance, we have to do street sweeping. But there was a host of ordinances that were adopted prior to probably all of you being on council. And this was one that they added this year that wasn't previously adopted. And the state or the DEP have templates, and what's being adopted are templates that are proffered by the DEP, which represent the minimum requirements that you have to have. So, Dr. Greenberg-Bell, to your point, this particular template doesn't require a permitting process. It's an enforcement mechanism. So to the extent that I think as Ms. Shapiro had indicated, let's say there's a landscaping business that used to have a big mound of salt and they had a tarp over it, and somebody happens to notice it, calls the township, and the township zoning officer would go out and say, hey, we now have this ordinance, you're not allowed to do it, you have to put in containers. So it's one of those mechanisms that don't require, like, for instance, our tree cutting ordinance. That's one of the requirements that came down as a result of this MS4 permit, right? That's where there's a permit process. But there's actually 10 different items that are in our code that are related to this MS4 permit. But this particular doesn't require the town to physically enforce it, nor does it require property owners to come and obtain permits. But if it's brought to the township's attention that this exists, then there's an enforcement mechanism in place to protect it.
Good. Thank you for explaining that, because I truly don't want extra burdens on businesses and businesses that exist, and then the state changed this, like, how are they gonna know? So I'm glad that's the case. But, you know, obviously, we want clean waterways and stormwater managed, so obviously, I haven't ever had, in 9 years, never got a complaint, so I think we're okay. Because I get a lot of pings.
Does anyone else have, Mr. DePalma, anyone else?
How does this apply to residents? So residential properties? Because there's stipulations in here and resident, so for an actual house. So like I have a 50-pound bag of salt
No.
that I didn't get to use.
No.
I would
I'm
imagine.
asking. I didn't get a chance.
Right,
that's why I'm asking.
so if it's, so let's say you have that. My sense is it's probably inside, so it's not going to apply. But if it's outside, you would simply put it in a container, right?
Just like in a bucket?
Yeah, bucket, exactly. Yeah.
I only ask just because
but
when you
you
start
leave
to
it-
look through this stuff, there's fines involved. So
Mr. DePalma, you
there
leave
isn't
it-
a dissemination between property owner that's a resident or a business.
Mr. DePalma, you leave it in a bag, don't you? Like the salt when you buy it.
I do.
Yeah.
Right. So, yeah, under the ordinance, so basically what it just requires is that, and most residents, I think, would have it in the bag. Some of them put it in buckets, and they keep in buckets, and it's in the container. And what they don't want to do, what they're trying to prevent, someone putting small mounds in the backyard so that when it rains, it goes out and ends up into the drain.
So this is really just for the storage of salt or chemicals for de-icing. That's just the
Yes.
storage. Okay.
There's a host of all others that you're not aware. If you look at chapter 432, you'd be amazed.
You should know when you use this, when you de-ice regardless of where you store it, when you de-ice your driveway and your sidewalk, it's
Well, exactly. I mean, the same thing when they do it, when they put it down in the street, right? I mean, every municipality in the state does it, right?
I don't know if my wife wants me using the,
I mean, you know, when they put the,
roofing-
when they
the
put the
roofing
brine
ports
down
on the ice.
before it snows, it has to go somewhere.
All right, Mr. Piscatty.
I mean,
you have
as
a
part of the
question?
MS4 permit, I mean, it's almost like the budget, not as detailed, but May 1st we submit, May 2nd we work on the next year's. And so, you know, the salt does go in the street, it does go into our inlets, and Mr. Lenning has to track how much material he takes out of those inlets, and that needs to be inserted into like the permit as part of the renewal. So it's that detailed.
Wow. You had a question?
Yes, do you have a plan to notify the businesses in town that there's a new requirement?
Well, DEP does that. You know, they have it on their website, you know, as there, but we don't. I mean, same as the tree ordinance, we have it in our code. So if somebody was concerned or they needed to know if they were taking down a tree or if there was some sort of regulation, they would search it on our code. So there is no notification.
Thank you.
Does anyone else have a question? No? Okay. We were asked about first reading.
Move it up to first reading.
Okay. Dr. Greenberg made a motion. Second, Mr. Carroll. Okay.
Roll call, Councilperson Astatuli?
Yes.
Councilperson DeCaro?
Yes.
Councilperson DePalma?
yes.
Councilperson Garcia?
Yes.
Councilperson Murphy?
Yes.
Councilperson Pasquini?
No.
Council Vice President Dr. Greenberg Belli?
Yes.
Council President Sohar?
Yeah.
Motion carries. Second reading set for April 30th, 2024.
Thank you, Council.
Okay, you're welcome. Thank you very much, ladies. Okay, consent agenda, I'm going to ask for a motion in a second, and then I'll go back for separations.
Move it.
Okay, moved by Dr. Greenberg Belli, second
Second.
by Mr. DePalma.
Okay, any items for separation? Councilman Astatuli?
None.
Councilperson DeCaro?
No, thank you.
Councilperson DePalma?
C4.
C4. Councilperson Garcia?
None, none, thank you.
Councilperson Murphy?
3 and 5.
C3 and C5? Okay. Councilperson Pasquini?
No separations, thank you.
Council Vice President Dr. Greenberg Belli?
No, thank you.
And Council President Sohar?
No. No, thank you. So we'll take a vote on
balance with the removal of C3, C4, and C5.
Correct.
Councilperson Asatuli.
Yes.
Councilperson DeCaro.
Yes.
Councilperson De Palma.
Yes.
Councilperson Garcia.
Yes.
Councilperson Murphy.
Yes.
Councilperson Pasquitti.
Yes.
Council Vice President Dr. Greenberg Belli.
Yes.
Council President Sohar.
Yes. Okay, next will be C3, Mr. Murphy.
Yes, well, I don't understand. Was there a reason we rejected the parking lot expansion?
It exceeded the estimated budget.
Okay.
Anyone else? Okay, then I need a motion.
Second.
Okay, moved by Dr. Greenberg Belli, second by Mr. De Palma.
Roll call. Councilperson Asatuli.
Yes.
Councilperson DeCaro.
Yes.
Councilperson De Palma.
Yes.
Councilperson Garcia.
Yes.
Councilperson Murphy.
Yes.
Councilperson Pasquitti.
Yes.
Council Vice President Dr. Greenberg Belli.
Yes.
Council President Sohar.
Yes.
8 yeses.
Okay, we have C4, Mr. De Palma.
Yes, just separating it. Whenever these come up, I'd like to separate this just to make sure the residents understand that there are programs in place if you are a disabled veteran, that you can have your real estate taxes canceled and refunded for years. So if you do have questions, you do have concerns, and you think that you are eligible, please reach out to any of your council members up here, or you can reach out to the administration, and they'd be able to help you. If no one has anything else, I'll move it.
Okay, second by Mr. Asatuli.
Roll call. Councilperson Asatuli.
Yes.
Councilperson DeCaro.
Yes.
Councilperson De Palma.
Yes.
Councilperson Garcia.
Yes.
Councilperson Murphy.
Yes.
Councilperson Pasquitti.
Yes.
Council Vice President Dr. Greenberg Belli.
Yes.
Council President Sohar.
Yes.
8 yeses.
C5, Mr. Murphy.
Yeah, I'm going to remove that one. I didn't realize it was under state contract and stuff.
Just so you understand what happened was that the council actually had awarded a contract to this vendor last year. The vendor had been non-responsive. It's for emergency lighting for 4 police vehicles. And then Sergeant, drawing a blank. Doctors, thank you very much, had reached out, and then I followed up and see where they were. They had apparently run into some financial difficulties, but they effectively failed to complete the resolution of the order. So the police department needs to get lighting for these 4 vehicles. So what this resolution does is to rescind that previously approved resolution and cancels the associated purchase order for that, so that now the township can go forward with obtaining quotes or bids for the emergency lighting for 4 vehicles, since this will be canceled.
We have new bids out. We do?
We first have to cancel this before we can do it.
Rebid it? Okay. Oh, okay.
Yes, it's another state contract, so we don't have to go out for bid, but we already have the list ready and the next lines.
The next council meeting we'll have it?
We should, yes.
Okay.
We're good. We can just vote on it. We'll just
Okay.
take a roll call.
All right, so roll call.
Motion first, right?
Oh, okay, you moved it, okay, and second.
By Mr. Palma.
Yep.
Roll call. Councilperson Asatuli.
Yes.
Councilperson DeCaro.
Yes.
Councilperson De Palma.
Yes.
Councilperson Garcia.
Yes.
Councilperson Murphy.
Yes.
Councilperson Pasquitti.
Yes.
Council Vice President Dr. Greenberg Belli.
Yes.
Council President Sohar.
Yes.
8 yeses.
Report of the township clerk.
So I did want to mention that the primary election is rolling around, and that the county will be looking for poll clerks. So anybody who's interested, if they reach out to my office, we will gladly forward your information on to the county.
Okay, thank you. Report of the township attorney.
Nothing new to report, Madam President. Thank you.
Okay, and administrative report.
Thank you. Number 1, Parks and Recreation Summer 2024 brochure and registration. The Summer 2024 program brochure is now available online. We have programs for the entire community. Registration for residents will begin on May 1st at 6 p.m. Half-day camp and Camp Robin registration will begin on May 8th at 6 p.m. for residents. Non-resident Camp Robin registration will be held on May 15th at 10 a.m. Please have your rec desk account set up prior to registering. And for more information, you can visit our website at oldbridge.com/recreation, or you could call our Parks and Recreation Department at 732-721-5600, extension 4999. 2024 Memorial Day Parade Grand Marshal nominations. The Township is already getting ready for Memorial Day, and to that end, we are seeking nominations for the 2024 Memorial Day Parade Grand Marshal. Nominations are due by April 19th. For selection criteria or to submit a nomination, please contact Lisa Valsera in the Parks and Recreation Department at lvalsera, that's VALSERA, at oldbridge.com, or you could call 732-721-5600, extension 4010. Mayor Walker's Health and Wellness 5K Race honors hometown heroes. The Mayor's Health and Wellness Council, in collaboration with All Around Old Bridge, will be hosting a 5K race and a kids dash honoring our hometown heroes. It will be held on Saturday, April 20th at the Municipal Complex. The race will start at 8 a.m. The kids dash will start at 9 a.m. Also, there will be a health and wellness fair in the Ice Arena parking lot from 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. Please note that due to this event, the Old Bridge Public Library will open at 11 a.m. that day. For more information and to register, please visit oldbridge.com/5K. Paint and Bulb Day. This Saturday, April 13th, is the next Paint and Bulb Recycling Day. Middlesex County residents are encouraged to bring paint cans and bulbs to the Township Recycling Drop-Off Center from 8 a.m. to 12 p.m. And for more details, you can visit oldbridge.com/recycling. Finally, spring leaf collection. The Department of Public Works will begin spring leaf collection in all wards the week of April 22nd. And for a full schedule, please visit oldbridge.com/recycling. This concludes my report.
Thank you very much. Does any council member have a question or comment about the report? Then I'll take a motion to accept.
Second.
Okay, moved by Dr. Greenberg Belli, second by Mr. Pasquini.
Roll call, Councilperson Asatuli.
Yes.
Councilperson DeCaro.
Yes.
Councilperson De Palma.
Yes.
Councilperson Garcia.
Yes.
Councilperson Murphy.
Yes.
Councilperson Pasquini.
Yes.
Council Vice President Dr. Greenberg Belli.
Yes.
Council President Sohar.
Yes.
8 yeses.
Next will be our public comment on any subject matter for a maximum period of 3 minutes.
The public comment portion of our meeting is to allow the public to bring to the council's attention their concerns or comments. This section is open for any topic or items in the consent agenda. In accordance with NJSA 10:4-12A and the Old Bridge Rules of Council, the council asks the public to limit their comments to 3 minutes or less. Only one member of the public shall approach to speak to council at a time. The council will respect the public's time by refraining from any comment until the speaker is finished with their allotted time. It should be further noted that the public comment portion of our meeting is not structured as a question and answer session. If a member of the public has questions they seek answers to, an appointment can be made with the corresponding department's office during regular business hours. Township clerk will regulate the time during the comment portion of our meeting. As you approach the microphone, please state whether you're a resident of Old Bridge. Do not give your name or address.
Okay, thank you very much. Is there anyone in the public who wishes to be heard this evening?
Well, there was a miscalculation in the amount of money that was given by Frank Pallone for the Lawrence Harbor. It was $2.5 million, not $1.2 million. In addition, Joe Biden, under ARD, or the American Rescue Program, gave this town $6.765 million, and that's being used for our parks and everything else. That said, I did want to talk about something else because I wanted to bring up the money. There was a mistake, but everybody's kind of stressed when they're talking about money and budget. But I wanted you to understand that $2.5 million was provided by Frank Pallone, not $1.2 million. 2 weeks ago, I ran into a resident, and it was followed up by interviews of several residents in Ward 5 who were irate by the work done and the subsequent damage done when the curbs and sidewalks were done in Ward 5. I followed this up with walking through the neighborhood and looking at some of the damaged trees. The work that was done by the contractor actually destroyed trees planted in the street verge or the grassy strip. I know several of you on the council and as well the mayor, because she wasn't the mayor at the time, she was council at large, all took a walk in the neighborhood where the trees were listing onto the power lines. What happened was the township had already given the bond back to the contractor before they even were notified about damage done. So I was told today, I saw some videos of it, that work is being done again in Ward 5 on the curbs and on the sidewalks. This time, I'm hoping that this council will do a lot more due diligence, I don't know who has to do it, walking through Ward 5 and making sure that damages are not done to the trees and to the property owners' properties as a result of the work being done. The property owner, one of them, has to pay for the removal of 5 trees because the township won't, despite the fact that damage was done by the developer, to the tune of over $3,000 per tree. And that is, and I know that Pischetti was there because, Councilman Pischetti, because he described you standing there and going, yeah, it's leaning. So you probably remember one of the persons. That said, I want to make sure that the council does their due diligence, and whoever it is who's responsible for investigating before they remove the bond and give it back to them, that you guys do the due diligence. I know Mr. De Palma is really going to do it, but I would really hope that you guys take the initiative this time so you don't mess up the community in the process of trying to fix it. Thank you, Council President.
All right, thank you very much. Is there anyone else who wishes to be heard this evening? No? Okay, seeing no hands, then I will close the public portion.
Council comments. Councilperson Asatuli?
Yeah, real quick, so spring is here, right? And it's like new beginnings, right? So new mayor, new BA, chief of police. I want to give a special shout out though, right, to Zeus, the canine dog that, I mean, is it his first official assignment? How'd he do, Chief? I saw phenomenal. But he's okay? Just great job. And I always say, like, coming to Old Bridge 20 years ago, this is the 4th safest town in all of New Jersey. And I really, really appreciate the hard work and dedication you guys put in. You know, guys, ladies, all of you. It's phenomenal that you can walk the streets and don't have to look behind your back. So special shout out to the K-9 unit and all the work that you do. Appreciate you. Yep.
Councilperson DeCaro.
Thank you. I just wanted to make note, today's the end of Ramadan and the beginning of the Eid al-Fitr. I'm not saying that right. So I just wanted to wish those that celebrate a happy Eid. Also, Passover, I think, is going to be starting before our next meeting. So those that celebrate Passover, I would like to wish them a happy Passover. I just have one question, Mark. Just any follow-up with the email that I had sent about the Pride Month? I know it might have gotten lost in your.
I'm sorry for the
Pride Month, the ordinance. Yeah.
I mean, I did see it. I will talk to administrator about it, and then looking back to see. I just try to remember, you know, since I've been here. Typically, resolutions, council didn't adopt resolutions relative to different groups. So I just wanted to take a look back about that. Usually those were done, you know, when there's a particular month. Those were done relative to proclamations. But the council itself, that I recall, I just want to go back and check. I don't remember them ever, you know, recognizing a particular group. And the reason becomes, once you start doing it for one, then you have to start doing for others, and then it becomes a question of, you know, where's that bright line drawn if you draw a bright line? So,
Yeah.
so that's what I'm sticking.
Yeah, I'd be fine having something every month for different groups.
Well,
you know.
well, then it just becomes what happens if there's a group that's especially.
Yeah, I understand. Yeah, all right, but yeah, so I would love to sit and talk to everyone about it. Yeah.
Councilperson De Palma.
Yes, thank you. Also, to build off of Councilwoman DeCaro, for all those celebrating Eid, just wanted to wish everyone joy, prosperity, and happy blessings. You know, a lot of stuff has been happening in town. We've had ShopRite opening. We had the Target ribbon cutting today as well. And for those that are listening, the Target is not officially open until I believe Sunday. So there were folks coming in and out. We were able to see the new Target. You know, it's beautiful, just like the ShopRite. I'm sure that parking lot is going to be a madhouse on Sunday, so use caution. Also, everyone use caution when you're shopping there. I've already told my wife to stay away, is far, far away. But I think it's great seeing all those new businesses open up. We have the businesses that will be opening up in front of it, you know, coming up soon. As you see it, there's a lot of signs already coming up. God bless you. It's great to see, like Councilman Astulli said, spring's new awakenings, brand new businesses coming into town. It's great to see. It's great to see economic development happening throughout the town. You know, recently we've had a lot of rain. Now we have earthquakes. You know, one of the things we just want to make sure is, especially when it comes to some of these natural disasters that were happening, the rain especially, what I've noticed, and to me, having to go outside in the middle of the night when my storm drains are covered with all of the debris that's coming down, just make sure that if we are having storms coming up, just check your surroundings, check your own storm drains. I know on my block in particular, there's two right across from each other. A lot of trees, because I live in a mature neighborhood, a lot of those branches and leaves start to come down. Just make sure that we are looking at those because it does become a hazard. And I've seen folks hydroplane, you know, on multiple streets throughout town. So please, as we get into it, I think we're expecting another inch of rain over the next couple days. So please, if you do see that, just take a look out during the day. Just throw it up on the grass for the time being, just so we don't have those hazards in town. I know Casey and team do a great job in going around, but it's a 40 square mile town, a lot of roadways. I don't even want to imagine how many roadways that we have to go through and kind of get the debris off of, but just make sure that we are aware of that because safety starts at home. And it's the better we can do in ensuring that that stuff is kind of put away to the side, the better off it's going to be and it's safer for our community.
Council, sorry.
There's two quick other things, and then I'll stop, I promise. There was an incident, and Councilman Astulli touched on it, congratulating our officer Zeus. So in one of our neighborhoods, one of our HOAs, there was a unfortunate incident that happened. You know, there was a break-in. We are lucky enough that we do have a phenomenal police force, and you know, I wanted to make sure that we thanked our canine officer Zeus and all of the officers that came out. You know, this happened unfortunately, in our town. It happened in my neighborhood. I came home to a flurry of activity going on. We just need to make sure that all of our residents, if you see something in your town, that in your neighborhood, in your street, anywhere that does not make sense to you, to call the cops, right? We don't know how long the perpetrators were inside the house. Thankfully, that no one was there. It was an awkward time from my understanding for break and enters to happen, which was around 7:30 at night. That is typically the time when most people are home, people are putting their children to bed, people are having dinner, they're getting ready for bed, getting ready for work, whatever that is. That's the time when most people are around. So if you are seeing things around the neighborhood during the day that don't make sense, make sure that you are calling and letting folks know, letting the police know so that they can send out patrols to start to look at it. Our anti-crime teams are out there. But like I said, it's a big town. They can't be every single where. We have to be part of the solution, right? It's unfortunate that, well, fortunate enough that our police department caught those individuals. It's unfortunate that our laws immediately release these folks back in, right? Not to go into the full breadth of it, but the fact that they're in and out because of these laws are ridiculous, and things do need to change. But we also need to make sure that we're safe in our own neighborhoods, and we need to take responsibility for that. So I ask everybody, please, do not hesitate if you see something that doesn't look right to call, because we don't know what would have happened if there were people home at that given time. So make sure that you are keeping your surroundings, your neighborhood safe. Call our police department. You know, I've talked to the chief before. It's okay to have somebody just go, they'll take a run through the neighborhood to make sure everything looks good, right? Please make sure that we reach out because we want to make sure that everyone is safe in their homes and we keep this community as safe as possible. And then finally, just on a lighter note, this past weekend, a lot of sports openings. You know, baseball at Saywood South, Menino Park. You know, the Saywood South baseball, they were so excited with the field, seeing all those kids. We had the Saywood South, we had the Old Bridge softball league there as well for the parade. It was great to see everybody out there. We had soccer opening. Our school spring sports are starting, so, you know, changes in the air. Unfortunately, I missed my daughter's first lacrosse game today. She's a little upset with me, but I'll make it up to her somehow. I'm sure I'll be spending money in Target, fortunately for me. But I think it's great that things are starting to rejuvenate. Okay, and then just one other thing, and I do want to just have a follow-up because I have been getting a number of complaints about our newly renovated courtyard as to what we're going to be able to do to hold the contractor liable, or they can come back and fix, because I have had a number, Mayor, we've talked about this, Anna, we've talked about this as well. I actually got a phone call today as I was on my way here that someone was up here to pay their taxes, and they were unpleasantly surprised on how that contractor left, especially the concrete. So can we start to look at what we could do to hold them responsible for coming back and doing the fixes necessary? Thank you. That's it.
Councilperson Garcia?
Thank you. I promise I won't be that long. Chief, was that Zeus's first arrest? Good for him. Congratulations to him.
Nice.
We have all the Greek gods, huh?
Really rambunctious. We like them, but we're really lucky in town that you guys supported a K-9 program and you see the results.
Yeah.
We're going to have Apollo at our next meeting.
I think dogs are your best partners. They do what you tell them to do. They follow the lead. They're perfect. They're better than people. But good. Zeus, congratulations to Zeus. Woof, woof. They sure did. They sure did. They did.
100%.
Gets all the props.
No, you know, and I always say, as you guys know, I'm an ex-cop, and I think cops work hard. They don't get the recognition they deserve. They get the abuse from not just statewide, citywide, countrywide. So I always look for an opportunity to congratulate the cops, because without the cops, we have chaos. So I thank you guys for doing the job. I know it's a hard job. And like Eric said, we have to change the rules. I don't want to get into all that stuff. But thank you again for what you guys do. I went to the baseball this past Saturday. Was it Saturday? Yeah. I think it was Saturday. It was cold. But I tell you, those fields were beautiful. That's my first time being down Menino Park. The fields, they were beautiful. I mean, I wouldn't want to be the third baseman playing on that field, because that's fast. That ball is going to come quick. But it was a beautiful field. So it was great, Matt. I really thought it was great. I went to the grand opening today for Target, so I wish them nothing but luck. I don't shop in Target. Like Eric said, I hope my wife doesn't shop in Target. ShopRite, as you guys know, ShopRite's opened up. I think it's doing well. I think that's all I got. So thank you guys and have a good night. And happy Passover. I think it does start next Monday, I believe. 22nd, I believe. So happy Passover to those who celebrate. So thank you.
Councilperson Murphy?
As you all know, I don't like to speak much, but I feel I've said enough tonight. Thank you.
Councilperson Pasquitti?
No comment, thank you.
No comment, huh? And Council Vice President, Dr. Greenberg-Belli?
Yes. Well, it's finally nice to have a warm day and some sunshine, but because the rain has been phenomenal. I love spring for many reasons because it brings back fond memories. Like they said, going to the baseball field, seeing the kids there. My daughter played at Sarwood South, and now they have Menino Park. I'm sure they're very happy to have those fields. But also for opening day for the soccer field, it's great. And I really appreciate all the volunteers that make these programs go. People don't realize how many people it takes to stand up, to give of yourself and your time to do that. So I want to say thank you because it's very important for the community and for the kids, and it's very healthy for the kids to get out there and be active. Also, at Higgins Field, you know, it's wonderful. Karen Medeiros has Just for Kicks. It's soccer for the special needs kids, and that program is phenomenal. It has grown so much. So many different towns come here to enjoy that program. And one thing when I noticed at the field from speaking with Karen, that they need more buddies for the kids. They need, we have a lot of kids that volunteer in town, but they need more people to step up to help the kids because you need one-on-one. And so if anyone is interested in doing that, please go to oldbridgesoccer.com, and you can sign up there. Thank you very much. Enjoy the spring and happy holiday to everyone.
Council President Sohar.
Yes, I also attended all those functions for the sports, and they were just great. I can't wait. My grandson is going to be 2. I can't wait for him to get into T-ball. But that being said, it was just so nice to see everybody. And Karen's program it's phenomenal. And then I had the honor of being present at a court of honor for an Eagle Scout this weekend. Mayor Walker was away, so she asked me to fill in for her. And it was a really very, very nice day. Christopher Giordano, very nice young man. And it's a pleasure to see that kind of, project that he made with the sensory touch. It was just phenomenal. And I really enjoyed being there with the family and the rest of the scouts. They're such a great group, Troop 129, and I really think the projects they do are so nice for the town. We have so many Eagles. I was really impressed with the number that we have now, so that was also a very, very nice time. The fields were great. The scoreboard for Zach and Jude and Anise was also a very touching moment. They were just very special, and they always will be in our hearts. So again, spring is here, and we're ready to just hopefully have a nice, good weather for a little while and have a great time in Old Bridge. Enjoy all the parks and all the fields because they really are nice. They're beautifully kept. Thank you very much.
So
Okay, we're now going to go into an executive session.
we need a motion to
Move it.
adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn and enter executive
Right.
session for contract negotiations and potential sale of township-owned property.
You have a
Dr.
motion,
Greenberg-Bella?
right? And a second?
Did we get a second?
Second.
Thank you. Roll call, Councilperson Asatuli? Councilperson DeCaro?
Yes.
Councilperson De Palma?
Yes.
Councilperson Garcia?
Yes.
Councilperson Murphy? Councilperson Pasquitti? Council Vice President Dr. Greenberg-Belli?
Yes.
Council President Sohar?
Yes. Everyone have a good evening. Thank you very much.